go ahead and state your name for the podcast.
Mhm. Uh, well, I go by my username of Cat or Pirate Cat. I am a high school gaming teacher.
From your local high school. Don't worry about where it's from.
Yep.
Yes,
Nah.
from my high school. It's
Um,
Okay.
actually the exact same high school I went to when I was in high school.
yeah.
Interesting. So you said you were well, a gaming teacher, but what'd you say it was? Well, the official title was?
The official title is Gaming Simulation. There's three courses that I offer. One is the starting course, the second is the design course, and the third is the programming course. The fourth course that I would love to implement includes a multiplayer aspect to it. However, I currently only provide the first three.
Okay. Now, is there like a certain, you know, a credential you gotta have to get to those certain levels, or it's just anybody
You're
that
talking
signs
about
up?
a prerequisite?
Yeah.
So technically there is not. However, if you have any sort of technological background or if you understand how to use like basic Microsoft Office stuff, it's always useful. Or even if you've taken a small coding class in middle school where you learn to use Scratch, that's always welcome. Having a little bit of knowledge can help aid in the learning process by building off of what you already know.
That's interesting. So, like, I don't know if you know the full thing or like whatnot, but just kind of give me like a rundown of like how this whole, gaming concept came together for the school.
So the original class started back in 2015. It was my senior year in high school, and there was just an opening. Our teacher at the time was a computer science person, and they had just announced this new potential program for gaming that required not only computer science but business. So this was the year that I decided with my free elective I was going to take gaming. It changed my life. I went from wanting to be a math teacher to being recommended to take the teacher's place when she retired and become the gaming teacher. The courses essentially are broken down into three levels. The first level is the foundations. This is the foundations level where we learn about what it means to be in the gaming industry. You learn about the roles in the gaming industry, the copyright laws, you learn about the game development cycle, player types, a little bit about being involved in the game, bringing on immersion, and then you learn very basic coding. We use Scratch to start with for basic block code to kind of get the idea of, oh, this does this when I make this, and then I can make it do this. And it eventually leads into learning a little bit more of a difficult program called Click Team Fusion 2.5. This is the second program the kids learn. And this program is also the same engine in which The Escapist and Five Nights at Freddy's was created on. So it's very easy to say, hey, check out these games that you could potentially make. Level 2 is design. Design has to do with understanding how colors affect the games, as well as sound and visuals, and really just giving a personality to these started games, these ideas, and bringing them more to life in a very fun manner. This is where you start using Adobe Illustrator to create graphics. You use ClickTeam and you start getting more advanced coding, and we start making different levels, and you bring in music and immersion perspectives. And I love seeing what my students come up with. Even the first level students have some incredible work, and to watch them build off of that is it's all a teacher could want and hope for. Forget what people say about how teachers get paid. That is in and of itself a reward. I don't do what I do for the pay. I do it because I love it.
You do it
Yeah, I
for the
The
mean, it
third
craft.
sounds
year,
like, it sounds like a lot of fun.
it
I
is.
wish I could be a teacher for gaming. That sounds like the dream job right there.
No, for
It's
you,
so much
Christian, to
fun.
be, You would be like the movie guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like my movies, but I do like my
I
old
feel like
school
you would be
games
a
too.
great storyboarder.
Christian,
So,
he's
for those who are
wiki with
not
it.
familiar with the terms, like kind of go through what a storyboarder is.
Oh, a storyboard essentially is where you come up with the story. It's a very basic outline of creating what is going to happen in a very rough draft, literally rough draft sense. It kind of gives you an idea of what something will look like, some elements of what's going to happen, maybe a couple of rough drawn scenes,
Hmm.
and then it kind of gives the idea of what the level or story or cutscene is going to be.
Oh, okay. So they basically like draw it out, and then they go frame by frame. Like, all right, this is what's going to happen here. This is what's going to happen here. But when they get to it, they can polish it up and do like make
Correct.
micro changes. Yeah, I know what
Yeah,
storyboarding
like
is.
The
and
the
like I'm
biggest
sure
thing I
like
have to push
go
to my
for it.
students is planning. Planning and time management is one of the biggest things I teach in that class because if you don't plan your time accordingly, you're not going to get the game done. It doesn't matter how pretty it looks. If you don't have a complete game, you can't play it. There's no point in the pretty graphics.
Yeah, because if all the physics are wonky and stuff, you're not going to sit there and play it. You're like, oh, this is pretty, but the controls suck. The stories suck. This sucks.
Or
It's
hey,
like
I'm walking out of a wall that I shouldn't be. I'm breaking
it,
the game. It's taking away from my immersion.
it's like
Yeah, so
it's like
so
Cyberpunk when it came out.
yeah,
Everyone was like so hyped for it, and then when they finally
I
got
was
it, they're
about to
like,
say that.
"This is
Mm-hmm.
ass. This is 2 packs of ash. We're not
Yeah,
playing it."
Mm-hmm.
Then they went back and through and played it because they was trying to get it out on a time schedule when they should have really pushed it back,
Oh yeah.
polished it.
yeah. So, in your words, you would say that time management is one of the big key roles into making a video game.
It really is. And ironically enough, it is the biggest thing I struggle with. Time management has never been a strong suit of mine. And I've had to hit it really hard in the bud right now, trying to get rid of that habit. Being a teacher, I can't procrastinate. I have to manage my time. I can't just sit at home playing Minecraft like I used to during the summers. So
Those were the
it's been a
days.
struggle, but at the same time, it's been a challenging and rewarding struggle.
We, yeah, like with me when I'm editing, I can't just sit here and blow through the footage and then just chop it up and produce it. I gotta sit here, watch everything, cut it up to where I need it,
Yeah.
put a meme or put subtitles over it. But I can't spend too long on it. I gotta know what I'm gonna do before I do it.
Mhm. Which
It
is where the game design planning comes into play with my students. My students are told to give me an idea, give me a basic idea of what is going to be in the game, a basic backstory, and then what they hope to accomplish with the game before they can even start it. They
yeah,
have to have a plan to give them a essentially a rough draft of what they're going to make to keep them
yeah,
on track.
because you can't just like, all right, I'm gonna have this game. The goal of it is to rescue, let's say, a PS5 controller. Whatever reason, that's your story. You're gonna rescue a PS5 controller, and oh, but he's gotta do this. He's gotta do this. Wait,
Mhm.
we're gonna
It's
take
just
you on
like,
a
why are
3 hour.
we doing this?
I'm gonna take you on a 3 hour journey that makes no sense to the storyline.
Yep. That is the biggest thing. The biggest thing that kids come into my class thinking is, well, two things actually. One, that it's going to be all playing video games, which isn't necessarily false because they do play test each other's games. And two, that they can just immediately go in and start making games. Well, some people might be able to do that. It's so hard to start a game and have a solid finish. Starting something is easy. We start projects all the time, we never finish. But to have a strong finisher as much as you have a strong start takes planning, which is where I have to reel the kids in when they get these ideas. I tell them, write it down as you come up with more ideas, write down the version numbers below it as you add more stuff. That way you stick to the original idea first, get that in the game, and then add these additional things. Otherwise, if you try to add things as you think of them, you'll never finish.
Yeah, it's like if spoiler alerts to everyone. Have you ever seen the new show Twisted Metal based on the PS1 title?
I have not, but I've heard of
Never
It's a
mind. Do
good
you want to
show.
see it?
it.
Because if you say you don't want to see it or you don't care for it, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. But if you do, I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah. Also, for those who are a good old-fashioned fan of old PlayStation games, and you don't like spoilers, just skip ahead. But if you want to see it, it is on a Peacock. For those who are wondering.
It is on Peacock.
Alright.
Sponsor
not
So
us.
that
I
bad.
have no problem about it. Let's go ahead and say let's
Alright.
talk about this for what 2-3 minutes so they can skip ahead accordingly.
I will timestamp it wherever I feel needed. So,
All right.
Twisted Metal, it started off really slow, but it was building up. But it was really good. They started building it up and they had a really strong start. And they had a really strong finish. I don't know where I'm going with this. Now hold on, let me pull something out of my ass. They planned it. They had to plan it. They couldn't just sit there and like, all right, Anthony Mackie's gonna be driving around a mall. He's gonna be doing this. We're not gonna have it
Once
based around the
again,
game.
there goes that key word, time management. Once again.
Time
Yep.
management. They
It
based it
is.
around the game, but they also put story into it. They made it their own. They
Which
put
is where the
Raven.
storyboarders come into play.
Yeah, they made it their own. So if anyone can take anything away from this conversation, I am completely pulling out of my ass. If you're going to recreate something into like a movie or another video game, like a faithful remake or just a remake in general, make it tied into the original, but make it your own.
On that note, aside from the voice actor being who he is, what did you guys think of the Mario movie?
The new one,
The
You
newest
know,
one.
I actually
the
enjoyed it.
first one.
I think it, captured the story pretty good.
You said the
Mhm.
new one or the first one?
The newest one. We don't talk about the original one.
No, we
Yeah,
do not. I like
that first
me
one.
and Vanna was going to go watch Air, the Michael Jordan shoe movie. Well, we didn't want to see that. We wanted to see something funny, so we was like, Mario's out. Let's go fucking watch that. So me and her went and watched that. We loved it. We loved Jack Black. We loved Seth Rogen. We loved Chris Evans. He did a pretty damn good job. If you didn't know
I'm
who he
a
was or
huge,
how he sounded, you would never
yeah,
guess that was him.
but I'm also a
Mhm.
huge a Charlie Day fan. So
Charlie
Yeah,
Day did
one
his
Keegan
thing.
Keegan
one and
Michael Key
two
was always
are my
there.
guys.
Yeah,
So sad that I haven't
they hit
watched it
that
yet.
movie on the head. I like how they incorporated the like the opening scene where they're doing their like little skit on for a commercial. They took that from
Mhm.
I think their cartoon. I think they took that from the cartoon.
It looked like it, yes. And it was nice where that was where the Italianness of them came out. It was funny. I'd say
Yeah.
my favorite parts of the movie, though, were not only the animation was great, but my favorite part of it was the music. The music was so faithful, especially and I'm sure people have seen it by now, but in Kong, in the Kong Kingdom, when
Yeah.
DK makes his appearance, and it is the DK rap from Donkey Kong 64, I freaked. I was so happy to hear that. And to see Diddy Kong sitting with Dixie Kong and Chunky Kong, it made my day.
Yeah, I
See,
mean they really got that down to a T. I mean, I love the soundtrack really. It's
you just
it has a lot of the old, a retro elements in there.
That's the key
Mhm.
word. You just if you're doing if you're doing your own movie or whatever, like I said, tie into the original, but make it your own.
Make it feel nostalgic is the
Yeah,
biggest part.
yeah, that too.
You give the audience a
If not,
familiar
you're
yet new feeling.
oh yeah, like you're experiencing it for the like. I think yesterday, Vanna. Oh, she's had AirPods in. Hold on. When did we go see Coraline? When did we go see
Oh,
Coraline?
another good movie.
We went and saw Coraline yesterday in a movie theater, and Vanna said,
Really?
"Yeah, it was in AMC up here for
That's
Monday and
awesome.
Tuesday." Oh yeah, it was a good
Yeah,
movie.
we
Vanna
went around.
said she feels like she hasn't seen the movie how it was supposed to be supposed to be seen. So we went and saw it. She said there's maybe some scenes I haven't seen. I was like, you have. You just experienced it in the theater. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
A theater
And
is a
that's my
big.
biggest gripe when people pirate things. It's not only illegal and rude to the content creators, but it just takes away from what the true value is of the movie. There's a reason it's in theaters.
And you mentioned, a pirating. Do you think that, especially in, the a video game aspect, that there's more of pirating now than there ever was?
That's a hard one. I'd say there's more pirating of movies than there are video games. People have actually cracked down on video games, which is really nice, but movies and TV shows have become an issue. Um, I'd say due to like some of the ways that they distribute games, it's become harder because of digital copies and you have to have licensing and there are certain things that are built into consoles that prevent you from being able to copy stuff. Even PCs, some things have like blockers that are naturally in it.
Yeah.
And files are hidden away or just scattered so you don't get everything. You can't pirate it all unless you gave them your whole PC essentially.
Yeah.
But it's not only, like I said, rude, it is illegal. It is also disrespectful, which is something a lot of people don't think about. And it's honestly unfair. It's stealing. Piracy is stealing because you are engaging in content that is supposed to be paid for, and by not paying for it, you are stealing.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've ever came across this before, but like especially back in the PS1 and the PS2 days, there was a lot of Asian knockoffs of like certain games in the market. Like
I don't
for
doubt
like
it.
the I forget which Pokemon it was, but there was a bunch of Asian knockoffs. Like I know that the like the game itself is an Asian market game, but like it feels like they're selling more of like the a cheaper version out there that I've
Yeah.
seen.
I
I
mean,
mean, I know
don't
that there was like crossovers that were like not necessarily marketed highly, like Pokemon Puzzle was a good one, or Mario Typing, or Mario is Missing. These are some like just smaller games that never really were marketed highly because no one really wanted it, but they were there. Mario Picross, Mario Paint. No one remembers that.
Oh yeah, I love me some Mario Paint. I used to play that nonstop when I was a child.
don't forget that. Remember earlier, well, yeah, today you told me that. What game was it? Fuck. There was told me about this one game that the creators of the game they just used their assets and never paid anyone for them.
Stardew Valley.
Yeah, that one.
Uh,
So there is still like somewhat of a problem with people stealing from other creators in the gaming universe because
yes.
people work hard on their assets and they're like, oh, that's mine now. Fuck
Yeah,
Yeah,
you.
it's unfair. Disney actually was guilty of it back when they recorded Snow White. They actually originally told the voice actor for Snow White that they were doing this for a short film. and like something that was going to be like maybe 15 minutes, and they had to record all these voice lines, and they paid her technically for a short film when they were making a full feature length movie, and she was not paid the proper wage.
Like Metal Gear
I
Solid
never,
2,
I never knew that actually.
Metal Gear Solid 2, talking about stealing stuff. Konami and Hideo Kojima came up with this intro song to the game. It was just like they was just playing it while you were sitting on the main menu. They didn't know it sounded exactly like this Russian opera sympathy or symphony. There we go. And they got hit with tons of lawsuits, so they changed it. They was like, "Oh shit, we didn't." So some people don't really know that they're stealing something until they get hit with a lawsuit.
Yep,
Yeah.
just like SCP went through that. Spooky's House of Jump Scares, now Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion went through that. There's some recognizable titles that had lawsuits against them for content that was apparently someone else's that they were trying to get rights back for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the other person like just straight up didn't know, like, oh,
My bad, bro.
you don't
We all good. That
sue me, mate. You don't gotta sue me, lad.
Yeah.
Let's back
Now,
it up here. We can talk about this.
in your class, like, do you go over with your students about like like let's say they try to do the coding for a game? Do you have to run through like the copyright laws on like certain stuff, or like you just let them roam free?
Well, here's the part with copyright law is that there is something called fair use. Fair use is essentially the aspect of using content that is copyrighted without being copyright struck. And this can occur in a couple of different ways. One is when you are doing short reports, like on newspapers or blogs. When you talk about the game, it is fair use. Or when you want to make a parody, such as like a skit, like an SNL skit or a copycat game, that is fair use. Educational purposes, it's fair use. Teachers are allowed to use content, and students are allowed to use the copyrighted materials while they are also not making money off of it, which is the other exception to copyright with fair use. It's not for profit and it is non-distributed.
Okay, so pretty much as long as it's for educational purposes, anything goes, right?
Correct. Although I do try to encourage them to create their own stuff. If they are making a game that's like something I'm just practicing a specific type of code for, I'm okay if they use like a picture of Jack Black in a Bowser costume.
Mm. Yeah, Christian, I'm gonna have to get a little thing that says educational purposes only and slap it over music. Anytime I put music in my
Yeah,
video, just slap
yeah,
it over it. Can't hit me
yeah.
now,
I'm
fuckers.
sure
I'm
that's gonna
protected.
hold well in court.
It will, man.
The
It
other
says
thing is Creative Commons and then public domain. These are the other two things that can prevent you from being copyright striked. So public domain is where a copyright law has actually expired, and this expires after one, the creator has passed, and 70 years have gone by. Is the when copyright law is expires.
yeah, that's
The
why
other
Mickey
Yeah.
thing,
Mouse is coming out on to public
yep,
domain. And Winnie
Yeah.
the Pooh
Steamboat
already
Willie
did.
is the
Same
technical
thing
term.
for Winnie the Pooh.
Mm-hmm. Correct, which is why they're making like Winnie the Pooh horror games now. I've seen those; they're terrifying. The other thing
Cool.
is Creative Commons, where people can put stuff online and allow people to use it with restrictions that they deem necessary. Whether it's they have to acknowledge the original content creator, or they can't change it, or they can't make money off of it. It really depends on the license that they put on the piece that they are giving to Creative Commons.
Nice. Now, another question I wanted to ask. These games, let's say that they're a fully finished and they want to be tested. Like, that,
One more
Huh?
time, you cut out.
Yeah, you just went.
yeah, I had a phone call that I just. Anyway, so
Was it your grandma?
yeah, yes, it was.
Dude,
Anyway, back to
she
my question.
knows.
I Oh man, she's like a ninja every time, man. So, let's say that everything's been tested with the game and like it's all finished. Like, is there any kind of like you know like
Testing phase.
competitions that they can enter the games into, or is like it's done? Time for another project.
It's really in the sense of it's done, it's for another project. Although to model and give inspiration to the other students, we do what we call gallery walks, where
Mhm.
we'll give a deadline and the game is supposed to be done at this point, and the students will pull up their games. They'll have a sheet where they give feedback and they walk around and play each other's games.
Yeah, that would not be a good one because I'd be like, man, this shit sucks ass.
And that is what I try to prevent by doing what we call a comment sandwich. You're supposed to say one positive thing, you give a criticism, and then you say one more positive thing.
Mhm.
So you hit them with it right off the bat. You like, listen, you can give them a backhanded compliment. How about that? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love
The whole thing is we're
backhand.
trying to be supportive. Because some
Okay.
people may not be good artists, but they're really good at the code that they do. The
Yeah,
reason why we have such good artists is because the school that I attend, Nova attends, and the one that I teach at, we're a performing arts school. We're all about, theater and drawing and
And
pottery,
and
tech
concrete.
theater,
Yeah, a lot
music.
of
That's horse
things.
shit. You know,
so it's
that's a
about
bunch
them
of horse shit.
creativities, man.
Me and Christian went to a high school I went to school for welding. We didn't have
I
nothing
was
cool like that. He was in
I
band.
was in band.
I
We
was a
have
band
band gear.
nerd.
A high five virtually.
Yeah,
Wiener,
virtual high
buddy.
five.
Wiener. Anyway.
I actually
Um,
played a wooden clarinet. It was my mom's. But anyway.
Christian
Nice.
blew a bunch of shit, so you know.
Yeah, nice one, buddy.
You
Nice
Well,
knew
one.
you
it.
got
You get it.
stoned
I
and
haven't
you went
heard,
out
I
there.
haven't heard
Listen,
that one before. I haven't heard
yeah, I
that one.
know. I know. I had to bring up some of the old comments. You know the vibe.
I mean, fun fact, did you know it takes as much air to blow into a piccolo, which is a small flute, as it does into a tuba? So
It's
there's a
just
couple of
good to have.
things that it offers. The course not only is extracurricular activities, it is also a performing arts credit, which when you pass all 3 years, you are giving a chord. And the chord essentially symbolizes a class that you have taken to completion. They have things like for ceramics, or they have it for National Honor Society, they have it for Delta Theta, which is the math club. They have it for TV production, art. There's chords, and mine is
I was
a
like,
chord in and of itself. And the other thing that my course also offers is the chance to certify in different programs. We certify in Adobe Illustrator, the Unity engine, and originally I was certifying in Photoshop, but I'm cutting that out because Photoshop was, I think, a little too rough with the freshmen, and I don't think it really
Yeah,
fit into
I
what I
was.
was teaching.
So, do you have any like? Well, I guess we say, do you have any, preferences for what your students make, like as in a game genre, or it's just like just let them
Um,
run wild?
but it really depends on
Well,
what
you teach
specifically
absolutely.
I'm trying to teach them. Like if I want them to learn how to make a high score system, I'll probably have them do some sort of arcade game, and they can do whatever theme they want with it. Or if I want them to be able to run, say, a story with different choices, then you're gonna want to do more of like an RPG style with like a different genre of their choosing. I try to let it be extremely creative. I never want to limit my students. That is the biggest burden on creativity, is when you're given an assignment and you're told what to do. So I don't want to be that person. I want to just tell them what I want to see in the game and let them figure out how they're going to display it. Yeah, so gaming 3 is game and simulation programming. This is where we get into Unity. we start learning the Unity function. They start learning C#, and they start off learning Unity with the 2D platform of it. Well, in Gaming 4, if and when I implement it, it goes into the 3D aspect of it.
Nice. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's basically like teaching them like how it's working, like how 2D is working alongside 3D eventually.
2D is essentially 3D without the depth. It's all the same code, it's all the same triggers. It's just understanding how the movement works and using a 3D space. So if you could understand the 2D portion, adding the 3D aspect of it is super easy.
It's
And
like
the goal of Gaming 4 would be the final project would be for them to make a VR game.
a VR game.
A
Nice.
world that they could sit in VR, whether it's a little escape room or it's like one of those things where you pick up like a ball and you throw it at something and knock pins over or something small and easy to work with.
It's like and you're trying to teach
Kinda
them like how to eventually get to the graphics of RDR2, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
Those graphics are insane, dude.
Yep. Very simple styles is what I'm going for. And then they can hone their skills in a little bit and then essentially leave it open to if they enter the gaming industry, if they become a part of a team or want to develop their own style. I've given them the basics and then they can mold them as they need them.
Yeah. So you're
It's like
giving
I'm
them the
giving them wet
craft.
clay.
Yeah, you're giving them the craft. You just letting them do what they can do. Then you try to sit there and like, okay,
Mhm.
maybe instead of doing this, do this, and then it pushes them into the right direction, and then
Mhm.
boom, you're
Yep.
you
Or I'll
got
give them
something.
something a little more challenging. Like they say, oh, I want to do this. And I'll be like, oh, what if you did this and this? And they're usually like, that's a good idea. Or I could do this. And I'm like, yes.
Jeez,
I'm very supportive of all my students.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's the best thing for a teacher is to be supportive, because the minute that teacher says, "Oh, that's not a good idea. Do this instead," and what the fuck?
Yeah,
yeah,
I hate that.
Yeah. Now, before we
Fuck.
get to a whole different topic, I want to kind of, do some backpedaling. So,
Yeah,
does
sure.
everybody have to start at a level 1, or is like the more advanced students go to like the other levels off the jump?
I always highly encourage students to start at level 1. There is technically a bypass to it, but I am very against it. And that is simply having a digital infotech tech background where it's simply typing and Microsoft Office and like online safety. It's like having that and going into gaming too makes no sense.
yeah,
Makes absolute no sense. So even if they take that course, I always push them to take gaming 1 first, to learn the basics, learn the language, learn what's expected. Start off easy. I don't want to push you into something you don't understand without having the foundations. That's why the gaming 1 is called Foundations.
Right.
What a
So,
loser.
let's get into the retro part of the podcast here. What are some of your favorite video games?
44 minutes
Favorites
in.
are stuff I grew up with.
Favorite as in like, your childhood games that you remember
Ooh.
vividly playing a lot.
Oh my gosh, you wanted me to talk about that? Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
That is a
That
good one.
is what I grew up with. I played on the system my mom played when she got it. I played the same console. I played on the same cartridge. I would stay up late beating that game, and I would find all the secrets. I got all the way past Star Road into the bonus area, and being so young, I still could not. I could not get past like level 2 on that bonus area. It was like so hard. It was precision. Like I remember very vividly playing that game and like getting all of the keys and finding all the little secrets and the Yoshis and how when you ate the different shells, Yoshi did different things like breathe fire, he got wings. It was I love that game so much.
And so, if you had to estimate, like, how many hours would you say you spent on that game entirely?
God, I forget at the very beginning if there was a I think there was a thing that told you how many hours you played on it. I'm vividly remembering like 100 or 200 hours when I was a kid playing
Jeez.
that game. I
Oh,
got into.
okay, so that's recent.
Yeah,
Oh,
you know, you mentioned
Mm.
the Majora Mask would say was your favorite, right?
That would be one of my most appreciated games.
Mhm.
I was a huge fan of Twilight Princess, although I also played like Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons on the Game Boy Pocket. I love those games.
Was you, as a kid, was you ever made fun of for like playing video games? Like, oh, you'll never amount to anything, or what have
Being
you?
a girl and playing video games.
Yeah, because
Um,
I know there's a entirely like big spectrum of like dudes playing video games, and then they see a girl playing a video game. Back at least back then, they're like, ugh.
I mean, you gotta
I mean,
remember some people are still down bad for gamer girls today, and will make fun
Yeah.
of
yeah,
gamers.
that's why I'm trying to encourage
All right,
girls.
Nova,
That's why I'm a
slowly roll with
female teacher.
There you
But
go.
as a female gamer, I wouldn't say I was made fun of. I actually got invited. I was like the girl of the group with all the guys, just like, hey guys, we got Kat here. And she's gonna play games with us. And like, yeah. I was always like that balance in the guys group. So I was always pretty welcome. I remember going to a friend's house and we played the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES. He had an NES and I was so excited. I would watch him play. I would watch my sister play. We had a friend who would come over and he would play GoldenEye 007 on the N64 and I would watch him play.
I got some memories of that game right there. It's a good game. I'm glad you
Yeah,
mentioned that.
he played Turok on the N64.
I'm actually trying
And
to find
then
that one.
when YouTube really became popular with all the gaming and stuff, I instantly jumped on that bandwagon of watching YouTubers play video games. I am a huge Markiplier fan, and I watched a lot of
There it is.
Jacksepticeye.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think all of
and
us
I
did.
would say, oh, I think she has her microphone muted. But I would
Does.
say, like, the first experience of like watching people play video games for me would be a PewDiePie playing Amnesia. Was
Yeah.
my
Yes.
first experience.
That has to be either my first experience, and then I stopped watching him for a little bit. Went to Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. I remember watching a whole summer. I think it was
That's actually very accurate.
during. There was like a very specific point in my time or my lifetime where I had Jacksepticeye's upload schedule down. It was once at like in the morning at like 11 my time. Then like as soon as I got home, he had one up in like 36 minutes every time.
Oh yeah.
And I remember watching the damn, what's that one game called? I have it too, special edition. You play as a teenage girl and you have powers. God damn it!
There's that encompasses a lot of games.
No. It's you play teenage girl and you can rewind time, and your best friend's a blue-haired girl.
Oh, Life is Strange.
Yeah, Life is Strange. I remember watching that whole series of him just playing it. That and
Yeah.
Escapist and what else
Yes.
did I watch? What
God,
else?
you're going down memory lane here. Yeah, my sister and I bonded over PewDiePie playing The Witch's House and Mad Father
Yeah.
and Misayo, all those old PG horror games. We would sit down together and watch him play, and we would laugh at his jokes, and we would get those little themes he would sing stuck in our head. It was just that was how we bonded. My sister has always been kind of an introvert, and I'm very much an extrovert, and that was the one thing we connected on.
Man,
I mean, Markiplier and Jacksepticeye are like gods, so
the first Markiplier game or Markiplier video I've seen was him playing Slenderman when
Oh my
he was
gosh.
just recording with a microphone hooked to a shoebox.
A shoebox.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the first video I watched as well.
I
For,
don't
like, both
remember what my
Mark
first
and Jack.
Markiplier video was.
And I'd
'Cause
give
I remember
anything
watching
to go back and watch him for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I
say if
didn't
you
really
could
get
go
into
back and if
yeah.
you could forget one thing that happened in your life, I would want to forget something that I experienced just to experience it all over again.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I didn't really get into Markiplier until like late in his career, like when he was first starting to do the Five Nights at Freddy's games.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's when you caught on?
I joined
Yeah,
I
me
joined the
too.
hype train of Mark. I joined him when he was finishing FNAF 3. That's when I really hit hard.
The first, I
Yeah, but
joined
like
him when he was
my
doing
main
Slenderman.
stuff, yeah, but like my main stuff was, I was watching CNanners,
Yes.
PewDiePie,
Do you remember
Cinnamon Toast King was
Cryotic?
a good one. Yeah, he was. That
Oh,
one's old right there. And then I would watch Sark.
yeah.
No, but hop on COD.
And Minx,
Oh my god,
RPG
God,
Minx.
God.
RGB Meeks. Yeah, I remember RGB Meeks. I remember all of them, but I didn't really care for their
RPG.
videos. Yeah, my bad.
I mostly watch Best in Class.
And then with Mark, I actually found another YouTuber set that I actually got really involved with, that make video game musicals, and Mark was a part of their Five Nights at Freddy's musical, Random Encounters.
Uh,
I actually got to meet them.
huh. How was that?
That is
It
interesting.
was
I didn't even know
so
that.
cool.
Oh, Kat, you remember when I told you about TJ Machine? They
Yeah.
actually made a song of Markiplier. They made a rap for Markiplier.
Yeah, Markiplier
Oh, is
used it
that
for
who
some of
made
his.
that?
I think he
Yeah,
used it for some of his
Yeah,
outros.
I'm pretty sure he did.
probably. Yeah. I apologize if there's dogs in the background. My family member opened my door when I had it closed. So
Oh,
It's fine.
they popped in. And was like, "Hey, how
So,
you doing?" Good, and left it open and walked away.
yep.
yeah, that's the good old days. So, back on the retro thing. So you'd say you're pretty much a N64 person, because I hear you get all
SNES,
these N64
N64,
games.
and the DS. The DS was my baby. I got a Nintendo DS during Christmas. My very first game was Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue.
I
Those were
wish.
my babies.
I bet you wish you still had them games complete in box.
I
And
still
everything.
do.
You still have
I
them
still
complete
have
in
the
box?
games. Not in box, but I have the games.
Oh, that blows.
Do you know how much Pokemon Platinum is worth right now, even
Yeah.
not in box?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid. And you said
Yes.
you had Pokemon what?
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue.
Mystery Dungeon. And then you said blue?
Yeah,
Yep,
Mystery
blue.
Dungeon.
Oh, yeah, let me know.
The Pokemon Mystery Dungeon was one of the
Dungeon
best series that I had.
You said you had it for the Game Boy Advance?
That's red. Blue was for the DS. It was
yeah.
cool because red and blue actually, if you had both, they talked. Like you could switch data between the two of them.
Alright, so Pokemon Blue on price charting.
Mystery
complete-
Dungeon.
Oh, yeah. Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. Is that it?
Yes.
Alright, cool. So loose copy is 1902 and then complete's 3007.
Mm-hmm. It's a very old game, but they had a remake of it in the last couple of years.
That's probably
And
why it's shot
I am
down in
playing
price.
the heck out of it. Mm-hmm. But Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is such an underrated Pokemon game, and I absolutely loved it. I also played the Pokemon Ranger series, and I had like Pokemon Stadium. When the Wii came out, when they had the Stadium for the Wii with all those beautiful graphics. Just seeing the Pokemon in 3D, it was incredible.
Let's see. So you said Pokemon. That's also another one I'm looking for, Pokemon Stadium. But I know that one goes for stupid amounts of money too. Stadium.
Oh yeah, I have Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 for the N64 and Pokemon Stadium for the Wii.
So the N64 is going about $56, and then Wii is $30 to $40 complete. But if you had Coliseum, $189
I also have that.
complete in GameCube.
I have it for the GameCube. I'm not sure if it's like not in box or whatnot, but I know I have Coliseum.
If you have a complete, let's see, Coliseum.
It's actually insane, like how all these old games nowadays are like worth so much money, but back then, like we wasn't even thinking about that, you know. We just
No,
wanted to
like
play the
when
game.
they would get rid of the original PlayStation 2, their parents would give it away or they would donate it. It's just like, no! That
Yeah.
and with Pokemon cards too.
So
I still
Pokemon
have the
Coliseum.
original set.
Oh, really?
Like classic Pokemon cards now these days, super expensive.
So Pokemon Coliseum, loose price. This is like just the disc. $112.50. Complete is $146.66. And brand new is $383.
Dang.
It
Yeah,
didn't
I am
start
a
shooting
big
up.
retro collector.
Oh yeah, I like going to this place we have up here called Gamers Alley. They have a bunch of stuff I like to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have something similar down here. I don't really want to give away a location or whatnot, but we have something similar.
Okay.
I also attend conventions. I'm a
Uh,
cosplayer as well as a video gamer.
I was literally about to ask if you attend conventions or anything like South Pack or not South
Mhm.
Packs, fucking PAX East or some shit like that. I can't remember. E3.
I
or
don't go to
whatever.
the major ones. I go to our local ones. But
Oh,
I've
really?
met lots of really cool voice actors. I've met some of the English voice actors for like the Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen. I've met some other ones I can't recall off the top of my head. But yeah, I've met some really cool people. Hunter
Okay.
x Hunter.
And you know, they got some pretty cool conventions around here too. Like I'm going to one in a couple weeks. It's called like the Mad Monster Expo, which is like, you know, for horror movies and like horror TV shows, you know, like of The Walking Dead and stuff like that. And
Yes.
and there's even one for like even, you know, you said you was into, you know, cosplay, and they got one in Raleigh, which is called I think it's a Galaxy Con, and you mentioned voice actors. Tara Strong was there this year, and for those who don't know who Tara Strong is, or if you haven't been living under a rock, she's our whole childhood, basically.
Yeah. Have you ever played any
I'd
of the Devil
say
May Cry games?
no, I have not.
Oh,
I
okay.
I grew up kind of very religious, so my mom didn't let me play those kind of things.
Well, since you're older,
So no, like
you should.
Diablo or nothing like that was allowed, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I suggest you try them because start with 3 if you do end up playing it because they're really great games. 2 sucks ass.
Yeah,
though.
I've heard. I've heard that too. 1 and 3 I heard were pretty good.
2 they switched the controls up. They completely revamped the controls for whatever ungodly known reason. But they're really good games. Start with 3. It goes 3, 1, 4, and 5. You don't count 2 because everyone's fucking even the people who made the games don't even count 2.
That's ironic.
Yeah,
they
but
banish it.
I'd love to play more games, but being a teacher, I find I have less free time, and my other free time is taken up by D&D. So
There you go. So how many times a week do you play D&D?
I am a part of 3 campaigns at the moment. My boyfriend actually runs a Star Wars one, which is on hiatus for a few weeks because he's out of town. But I'm a part of 2 D&D World ones and 1 Fallout one.
Yeah.
And we do Fallout on Friday. We do what we call Aurora Noctis on Saturday, and then Sunday is a new adventure.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you do get free
Actually,
time,
D&D is how I met my boyfriend, which is kind of cool.
there you go. That's what's up. If you do get free time, play the games. Really great. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
You can get it. I think you can get it on a Switch, but I know you can get it for PS5, PS4, PS3 for the HD collections.
Yeah.
And then you got to get the physical copy of. Well, I don't think you do. You can get 4 and 5. 5 is a PS4 game. But
Yeah.
other than that, they're pretty good. I like my personal favorite one is obviously 3 because that's the first one I ever played because of my brother. I basically have my brother to thank for video games.
If you
Um,
enjoy this kind of content, let us know down in the comment section. And
Timestamp your
yeah.
favorite moment in the thing, like, oh, I like it when Kat said this, I like it when Tommy said that, or whatever. We appreciate
Thank you
the
guys again
feedback.
for having me.
Oh yeah. Maybe she'll come back for a part 2 to this. Maybe.
Maybe.
Depending, maybe she might be a permanent member.
Maybe
Who
play
knows?
a game.
Maybe play a game. Now that would be special because she don't play shooters. We'll just have to find a party game to play, and
Like Jackbox, which I think she mentioned earlier.
she did
But I don't
mention
know
Jackbox.
if it was recorded or not, but
Jackbox, Candy Castle, different fun party games like that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why,
But
God.
but we've been your host. Thank you